new fencing that had been erected.
Is happening all over the country, and more evidence suggests that the federal government is using the nation's railway system to prepare for future FEMA prison camps. And this actually struck very close to home. Amtrak, the National Railroad Passenger Corporation. Its headquarters is in Washington, D.C., and the current standing president is Richard Anderson. My father worked for Amtrak in Beech Grove, Indiana, for over 35 years. When I was in my early 20s, I came across this video and was shocked, knowing that this place was just 30 minutes from my house.
The FEMA plans to imprison American citizens have generated a lot of interest around the country in locating the potential prison camps throughout the country. These may be facilities currently being used as prisons, such as those you saw earlier, or prisons that are being built supposedly in the name of the war on drugs, or facilities that have other uses but which could be quickly used to detain large numbers of people, such as this Amtrak facility in Beech Grove, Indiana. We're standing now in the main parking lot, which doesn't look too sinister. At this level, it is a very large parking lot, fenced on all sides by fence topped by barbed wire. It also has these electronically operated turnstiles. There is also a surveillance camera, just like we saw at the FEMA facility, pointing out to the parking lot, and a helicopter windsock. All of these apparent security measures are particularly unusual here, because this is a very low crime area, and this facility is nothing but an old train repair station with nothing in it worth stealing. In this portion of the parking lot is a brick building, suitable for processing, next to a gate that leads right out to the railroad tracks, and all of this is contained inside a fully fenced area, now 3 layers deep in fencing at this point. This U.S. Air Force train indicates federal and military involvement. Facing the opposite direction, you can see that this area too is a very large fenced area with railroad track running the length of the fence and plenty of warehouses. This facility was supposed to have closed in June of 1993, yet instead several $1 million in federal funds have been spent on supposed renovations over the past 2 years. Helicopter windsocks and markers are evident throughout the property. This small building is the only way into a particular fenced area. Inside this building, we see more of the motion-activated detectors, electronic turnstiles, and prison bars. All of the renovations to this property have involved putting in new fencing, electronic turnstiles, concrete flooring in unused warehouse buildings, and putting in large gas furnaces on buildings that were never heated any time in the past 20 years. Outside this building is fencing and a cattle run section of fence, all topped by barbed wire, pointing inward, not to keep people out, but to keep people in. This was common throughout the facility, particularly the new fencing that had been erected. Inside the fenced area on the other side of the building, you'll see signs that say Red Zone, right up next to the railroad tracks that run the length of the fenced area. Next to the Red Zone sign, you can see closely numbered markers on the fences that are too closely spaced to be parking markers, just as if they plan to have people line up to board the trains. The building is one that has a new concrete floor, and its doors and windows have all been blocked. Outside there are new gas pipes. Even as we were filming, a black helicopter flew over us, observing what we were doing, which has happened many times when we have been at the facility. The gas lines and gas pipes at the facility run the length of the buildings. And come out at some very, very large brand new furnaces that have been installed at the buildings throughout the facility. We found this crane, which has seen better days, but is plainly marked U.S. Army in the middle of the stockyard. We found other fully working military trucks and equipment here at other times. Inside the facility, we found large fenced-in areas next to the railroad tracks marked Green Zone and Blue Zone, suitable for holding a lot of people. Senator Lugar of Indiana recently obtained more federal funding to renovate this facility, which is supposedly only for the repair of broken trains and where most of the buildings on the property haven't been used for years. This tower, overlooking the entire facility at one end of the facility along the railroad tracks, also has a radio antenna on it with a ladder up inside of it. It would make an excellent watchtower.
There are some online running a campaign trying to debunk that the Amtrak facility in Beech Grove, Indiana has anything to do with the possibility of being used as a future concentration camp. But they're wrong. It definitely meets the criteria. It's massive. There is a security apparatus installed by the federal government that is advanced, and it is fitted like any other concentration camp of the past. The fact that the rail system runs right inside the facility for potential prisoners to be processed was enough for me. But the implications were so great that I asked my father, and he confirmed all that you just watched in that video. Even though the facility was closed down indefinitely, millions of dollars were flowing in from the federal government, security fencing and cameras were being installed, and he told me it was unnecessary too, just like the investigator stated, that there was nothing in the facility to steal. My father also mentioned the large furnaces that were being brought in, and reaffirmed that none of the local warehouse shops were heated since the opening of the Beech Grove facility, even during the coldest winters. And I don't have to tell you, you know what industrial-sized furnaces were used for in Nazi concentration camps. It's not rocket science, and those methods still apply today because it's the same people behind this preparation today. Glenn Beck, an American talk show host, author, and U.S. political commentator, showed an image of what these camps would look like in the future if they put these furnaces to use. If you happen to be picked up in an area where the train tracks don't lead to the main concentration camps that are spread out all over the country, you may find yourself on these white Fema buses that are blacked out. These were seen out on the highways and back roads of America during the recent Jade Helm 15 exercises when the military was initiating martial law protocols. And if you're near water and a train is not accessible to get you to one of these locations, they haven't forgotten about you either. Huge FEMA prison ships, or barges, started appearing around the time of Hurricane Harvey near the shores of Texas and Puerto Rico.
Digging deeper now into those FEMA barges we first told you about yesterday, the FEMA barges, which will be used for temporary housing, they will be arriving in 2 days, according to Port Arthur Mayor Derek Freeman.
From shelter to shelter, this is hard enough. But at this moment, right now you're talking about putting me on a barge.
Gwendolyn Donahue is not happy with the temporary housing coming to Port Arthur. She was rescued from her home during Harvey and is currently staying at the Red Cross shelter at the Thomas Jefferson Middle School. The next place she lives could look like this. It's a barge, and FEMA is providing 2 of these that will hold about 300 people each on the port of Port Arthur.
But I'll say again, I'm not a fish, I'm not a crab, I'm not a shrimp, because I don't know nothing about being on a boat.
Nice place, to regroup, get yourself together, give it a try. Well, no less you try.
Mayor Freeman says 3 meals a day will be offered at the barges along with laundry and satellite TV. Officials are also looking into separating the men and women inside and will also have security in place.
The first thing that I noticed there, that it was like the purge. All I could hear that night was car alarms going off and glass breaking and gunshots. FEMA and other people were flooding these small towns without doing evacuations and didn't care if people were dying. FEMA is trying to put their prison ships out at Port Arthur, Texas, to give a place for people to live because their homes have been destroyed or whatever. I later found out that even though we were stopped at this FEMA Resource Center and this government makeshift resource center at the mall, and let me tell you, you'll get part of this out of my story, that they do use malls, they do use Walmart, they do use these other places to set up FEMA and to create FEMA centers in these natural disasters. I saw it firsthand. And now that FEMA and National Guard took over and suspended all rescue operations, people are they're bringing in prison ships. And I'm going to tell you right now, do not get on their prison ships, because you might not come back. They're allowing the sharks and the fish to eat the bodies that go out to sea, just like they did in Hurricane Katrina. And with millions of people being displaced from their homes and their neighborhoods, you might go missing forever, and they think that you just bugged out somewhere else in the country and can't find you. But a lot of these people are going out to sea and never coming back. We head over to the local Walmart and Academy store where they were setting up the FEMA Fusion Center and makeshift hospital, and they had a helipad there to be able to do rescues and stuff. So they were using the Walmart stores and they were using the parking lots there and stuff. There were already lines lining up at the Walmart stores that were at least 2 miles long, and people were being rationed 1 case of water, 1 loaf of bread. It was very socialistically done. This is how FEMA works things. They don't always give people what they need, they just give them little pieces here and there. Basically there was bread lines forming, and that's exactly what was happening there at that FEMA center.
Executive orders that have been signed from the time of Reagan to Obama have made all of what you have seen so far a possibility. In fact, the executive orders are some of the biggest proofs out there today surrounding the preparation for martial law in the United States and other Western nations following. Rex 84, the Patriot Act, the National Defense Authorization Act, to name a few. The dark side of government knew you wouldn't read the sweeping powers that were given to the federal agencies working with the Department of Homeland Security, let alone fully understand them. It's always after the fact, but we can see these executive orders being put to use today. U.S. training operations for martial law, the building of Fema prison camps all over the country, and the measures we have seen enforced before, during, and after natural disasters in the United States, all incremental steps that they are taking to prepare for this new future. But how long will it take for these plans to be enforced on the people? That I can't say for now, but many people are pointing towards the mysterious closings of Walmarts all over the country as being an indication that this is no longer a training simulation.
5 Walmart stores across the country are temporarily closing, they say, for plumbing issues, and one of those stores is at Admiral M. Memorial in Tulsa. Now, Walmart says these issues are so large they need 6 months to make these plumbing repairs.
Those associates and customers tell me they just can't believe it's a plumbing issue that's the real issue for the closing. You believe it's a plumbing issue?
No, I don't.
Well, Jameson, for the past week, Walmart's story has been blowing up the web as people try to figure out exactly what might be going on. You can see right here, nearly 160,000 people have reached this story.
There's been so many of these Walmarts being closed down and turned into these federal facilities and closed off. And when they take a Walmart from a town, that this is the only store that these people have to get everything from. There's only one other grocery store that's in this town. So why would you close down a grocery store that everybody, all these old people get their medicine from? That just says a lot. And the media is truly being blind to it. Although there has been episodes where they've had some media people report on it and then they got hushed up.
To make it perfectly clear, Walmart is the biggest, most profitable retailer on the planet. They made over $480 billion in 2016 alone. No matter the location of a Walmart store, they're doing good. They don't go out of business. They put people out of business. We don't have to be experts or investigators to understand that hundreds of Walmart stores closing down at the same time, indefinitely, or for 6 months each, all for supposed plumbing problems, is strange. That, combined with video footage of the stores being completely gutted out, extra security added to permanently closed locations, military equipment, Department of Homeland Security vehicles, and personnel being filmed on Walmart sites all over the country. One man even picking up a Department of Homeland Security mobile command center Wi-Fi signal. All of this shows us that the concerns of the American people are valid. Several of the Walmart locations are even building new military-style, fenced-in sections at the front of their stores that look exactly like processing areas. Watch this video carefully and ask yourself, does this look anything like a local Walmart garden center?
Hello, I make this video, I'm not a happy man. I'm at the neighborhood Walmart in San Jose, California. This is what it has become. I did not want to believe it. Anyone who knows anything about jail or anything about that knows what this is. That is a holding area. Oh, I'm not allowed to go past this line actually, because the security guard told me if I do, it links up to the San Jose Police Department, and they will come here and arrest me. That's kind of weird for a Walmart that's not in use anymore. How can they deny this? This is ridiculous. God. And the way it's set up too is perfect. Look at, they got a security, why would you have a security camera right here? Why is this needed? What? This obviously looks like some sort of an entrance that they're gonna have. You're coming in and out of. I mean, come on. Oh, just come on. Look at this.
Not long before the Walmart stores started closing down, countless news agencies reported that 588 Walmart stores were now working with the Department of Homeland Security in their See Something, Say Something campaign.
Hi, I'm Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Homeland Security begins with hometown security. That's why I'm pleased that Walmart is helping to make our communities more safe and secure. If you see something suspicious in the parking lot or in the store, say something immediately. Report suspicious activity to your local police or sheriff. If you need help, ask a Walmart manager for assistance. Thank you for doing your part to help keep our hometowns safe.
So what is really behind the Walmart store closings? Could it really be plumbing issues that has affected stores within the retail chain all over the country? Did one of the most greedy companies in the last century all of a sudden decide that they had enough money and that these locations were not necessary anymore? Some of them closing down after they just opened the year before. I wish I could say that is the case, but more and more evidence suggests that select Walmarts around the country are going to act as processing centers for FEMA prison camps. And that's interesting considering they're already working with FEMA and DHS during natural disasters. There have been several documented cases during hurricanes where people are being hauled away in white trucks to Walmart locations near the storms. They are processed and then sent out to FEMA and Red Cross centers nearby the affected region.
In fact, underneath the bridge, when they were loading up with as many people, it's got to be dozens of people in the back of that thing. They take them to a nearby Walmart, and then the Walmart is where, I guess, metro buses or school buses will take them to the shelter. The question is, what shelter are they taking them to? Because I heard Tom say GRB is overcrowded or not overcrowded, but at the capacity they had planned for. So I think they're...
At least they have a system where they're taking them to a Walmart where they can be inside and wait and figure out what comes next.
Absolutely. I think the people I talked to, all, with the exception of one, they all were eager to go wherever the truck would take them. They take them to a nearby Walmart, and then the Walmart is where, I guess, metro buses or school buses will take them to the shelter.
At least they have a system where they're taking them to a Walmart where they can be inside and wait and figure out what comes next.
They all were eager to go wherever the truck would take them.
There was a reporter that just said, at least they have a system where they're taken to Walmart. This means that Walmart had already been set up with FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security to act in accordance with them, under their command. Here's a report in USA Today. 154 Walmart stores closed in 2016. It's no longer making sense to anyone. Recently, a construction worker started rumors about military tunnels being built under Walmart, connecting to other strategic military points in each state. But is there any truth to it?
Back in June 11, 1972, in the LA Times, the lead physicist for the RAND Corporation, he said that in 1972, the government had the technology to excavate tunnels across the United States and put maglev trains in that were capable of doing 10 to 14,000 miles an hour. Now, this is not science fiction. We have the capability to do it. These are U.S. patents by Los Alamos National Laboratories talking about thermonuclear boring machines that melt through rock just like you are taking a knife through butter. I went to Bechtel in Las Vegas, Nevada, and put in subterranean, which is what they called one of these, a subterranean, into their computer system. These are images of the subterranean being tested up at Los Alamos Scientific Laboratories. The actual boring tips get superheated and they melt through solid rock. There's no excavation of materials that are needed. The rock penetrates, cracks, and presses liquid molten glass up through a lining all the way up. In the early 1970s, there are plans for a network of underground tube shuttles. There are tube shuttle systems leading out of the base.
So we have these tunnels under the United States now. You're saying this is a reality?
Absolutely.
The website IntelliHub, the civilian intelligence agency, suggested the Walmarts are being converted into giant entrance facilities for a network of underground tunnels that the military will use to transport troops across the country, equipment, and prisoners. Phil Schneider gave first-hand knowledge of America's vast underground tunnel network. He personally worked in the DUMBs, as they call them, the deep underground military base systems.
Deep underground military bases. Okay, there are 129 of these in each United States. Depending on where you live, in Idaho there are 11 of them, each very large number. The average depth of each base is roughly a mile deep. They are basic whole cities hollowed out underground.
Goes all the way to Washington, D.C., huh? Goes all the way to Washington, D.C. Yeah, you Homeland Security? Yeah. How far have you taken this down to, how far have you actually ran a load? 100 miles? Up to Maine? How many miles do you think that is? Man, that's unbelievable. Not to mention, I've heard there's one that goes all the way to Colorado, right? Unbelievable. What do you think you're hauling? Any idea? Yeah, okay. Yeah. 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 I know there's been a lot of military stuff being hauled around lately, that's for sure, huh? We deliver to military. Gotcha. Gotcha. Appreciate. I heard there's water supply, food supply, everything's in there. Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, basically, we got an underground roadway system here that runs all the way to Maine, to Washington, D.C., to Colorado. It's fully stocked. It runs completely underground. And you can see they've been hauling tons of military equipment.
So could it be true? Could Walmart really be connecting itself to the underground tunnel network? We recently interviewed Joel Skousen, political scientist, commentator, and renowned author of books such as Strategic Relocation. He acknowledged the existence of military bunkers and tunnels in America, built for what he said was a certain nuclear attack on American military facilities, which will be used to implement martial law, round up people in FEMA camps, and convince the remaining people to join the New World Order and hand over all of their rights.
They planned and executed 9/11 to blame it on Al-Qaeda or Osama bin Laden when it was a U.S. black operation. So these are ruthless people. They care nothing for lives. But they are building deep underground bunkers, new ones, not just Mount Weather and other things that we've known about for a long time. They know the Russians know about that. They know that they'll be hit. They've got a lot of new underground bunkers being built because they know this nuclear attack is coming and they intend to let it fall.
The way you're talking, it's as if you can already see this going down. And, of course, God knows best the time, but, you see this happening sometime in our lifetime. That's the feeling I get. And I've heard a lot about these underground military bases, what they call them, DUMBs, or, you hear a lot about these underground tunnel networks that they're building all across the country that's leading to different military facilities. What have you heard about that?
Well, I don't believe all that I've heard on that because they claim, if you had what they claim to be underground tunnels linking everywhere around and, done by nuclear explosion, then still, where do you put the material? It'd be just huge mountains of material. Now, certain pseudoscientists have claimed they've got nuclear Boeing machines that just make the material disappear. I just am not buying that. Now, there are underground bunkers and systems, but I don't know of huge, long-distance tunnels connecting them. This war is going to make cities a living hell because it's not just military bases that get hit. I think it'll be preceded by an EMP attack. And only Russia and China have the capability of launching an EMP attack. It takes 6 nuclear weapons to blanket this grid, not one. So forget about North Korea, forget about Iran doing an EMP attack. Only Russia and China have that capability.
Or the
And I think that's part of their nuclear doctrine to launch an EMP attack just before a physical preemptive strike. And so even though cities will not be struck, there will be considerable social unrest and chaos as food runs out within 3 days of line. No water, no sewers work. So what keeps good people in the cities will no longer be there. The jobs won't be there. So what do? They flee to more rural places, and I think you're going to find a separation of society where more good people end up in rural areas with new majorities. And the globalists have to pay lip service to democracy. They have to pay lip service. You have new majorities who don't want to be part of the new world order, don't want to abide by that. I think that's where the resistance will be. But I don't think it can happen. And I don't think all of the terrible things they're preparing for, martial law, will happen until the war comes. Remember, the war justifies everything. It justifies a new currency. The economy collapses. Remember, economies never collapse. You can have deep recessions, stock market, they never collapse without a physically destructive war, such as when the Russians were invaded Germany. Nobody could go to work. Everybody was fleeing. That's when economies collapse. So forget about these sky and falling prophecies about the Fed pulling the money, slowly collapsing the economy. They're going to wait till the war comes. Then that gets the blame. They don't get the blame. These people are really smart. And they get to justify everything. Martial law, FEMA camps, excess prison, rounding up conspiracy believers. You'll see that. I've often said, we conservatives who believe in conspiracy will be the Jews of World War III. We'll be the Holocaust of World War III.
This is former Army Captain Dr. William Mount. In a bold testimony, he shared his experience and expertise in what he says is the reason for the sudden closure of all these Walmarts.
People ask me why Walmarts are closing. The answer is simple. When I took an Army logistics class, the U.S. Army developed a logistics system for Walmart. Walmarts were strategically set up around the world to act as military distribution bases. So if we have problems in Yemen, the Special Forces takes over the Walmart in Yemen. You can order a helicopter and nuclear weapons on the Walmart logistics system. There's a back door into it. They taught me that. If you are going to have Operation Jade Helm throughout the Southwest, you seize a Walmart. You can order things such as M16 rounds. You can order an M16 through the Walmart program. So they walk into a Walmart, fire 2,200 people in California. You're all laid off, go away, no unemployment, get out of here. Because the military then takes over their base. The specific logistics program I was trained on in California is the same program they use at Walmart. The Walmarts are federal military posts. How many Walmarts they have, they get extra money from the government. And when the government takes over,